We start with Attorney General Kris on the job almost 2 months and putting her stamp on the office. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks, Brahm. It's good to be here.
Let's start with water. You made water rights a centerpiece of your campaign, kind of a new direction for the AG's office. Now you've issued a legal opinion that clears the way for an agreement to provide water to hundreds of residents in the Rio Verde Foothills who've been without water for, almost 2 months now. Scottsdale shut off their water 8 weeks ago. That was a very fast opinion between the time it was requested by Representative David Cook and the time your office issued it. What was going on?
Yeah, it needed to be fast, and we really kind of dropped everything to get this done. Not everything, but folks were within, we think, a couple weeks of running out of water. I think this is a good example of elected leaders from both parties working together. Representative Cook, Supervisor Tom Galvin, Mayor Ortega, who you're about to talk to, coming together. We issued an opinion that said the county can provide water pursuant to its powers to ensure public health and safety and sanitation. Those statutes exist. We issued that opinion, clearing the way, I think, for the county to participate in this. But I hope Scottsdale does as well. I think they will ultimately. But we have a larger problem here, Brahm, which is wildcat subdivisions and a massive failure on the part of elected leaders in the past in Arizona to get a handle on lot splits, and that's really what is at issue out here.
Is that something your office can take up, or it's really up to the legislature to deal with?
Fundamentally, I think the legislature has to frankly get its act together and deal with this problem and put an end to it, but I'm going to do everything I can as Attorney General to stop it, including investigating whether there is land fraud going on and whether there is false advertising and false marketing. We are hearing that a lot of people in these areas, these unincorporated areas, especially out in that area, in Rio Verde Foothills, are being told that they're living in Scottsdale. They're going to be provided Scottsdale water. I'm going to investigate those types of things. But fundamentally, the legislature needs to solve this problem. It's kicked the can down the road for decades.
You mentioned I will be talking with Mayor David Ortega in a few minutes. But that's one of the issues we'll be talking about, advertising and the idea that if this agreement goes through and there is water service to this place, which is a bunch of wildcat properties, what happens if they start advertising?
Yeah.
New homes are built and they start advertising them as having water.
Well, we need the county, and perhaps I can help play a role in this as well, to make sure that we don't have a situation in which we have continued lot splitting in this area. We need to put a halt to that. We need a temporary moratorium at least. Now, obviously, EPCOR, the water company, is going to, in 2 years, be able to come in and essentially build a new utility out there, and that needs to happen. But we can't have Scottsdale coming to the table, the county coming to the table, solving this problem, and yet have over here a leak in the bucket, which is continued, out of control development.
Let's talk about another hot button water issue that was high on your list during the campaign. The Saudi alfalfa grower in western Arizona. The grower is getting a rock bottom rate for state land and just sticking a straw into the ground and sucking up all the water. You said you were going to do something about it. What have you done? Can you do anything about it?
Yes, I can do something about it, and watch this space.
Watch this space for what?
In the next couple of weeks. We are going to take action on this. This is one of the most egregious, outrageous examples of inaction by state government that I have ever seen, in which the state land department allowed the Saudis to lease land in western Arizona and La Paz County, grow alfalfa, send it back to Saudi Arabia, and the state of Arizona didn't charge them a dime for that water. It's my view that the lease itself is being violated. I also think it violates the gift clause watch for an announcement from my office soon.
Does it help to have a new person running the state land office right now?
I think it's going to help a lot to have a new governor and a new state land commissioner.
Okay, let's turn to elections. The Washington Post's Yvonne Wingett Sanchez reported last week that you have opened an investigation of the phony electors in Arizona after the 2020 elections. These are folks, Republicans, who represented themselves falsely as the chosen electors in that election. That investigation appears to be going on at the federal level by the DOJ. What state laws may have been broken?
There's several state laws that may have been broken in that instance, and frankly, I'm not fully convinced that the federal government is investigating the fake electors. I know the Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, has also come to the conclusion that the federal government is not investigating the same thing that happened in Michigan. So yes, I did announce, and I'll say it again here, we are going to investigate that. We are investigating that. And we've repurposed the election integrity unit inside my office to essentially, go from what was, I think, a voter suppression unit to one that protects voter rights and elections officials who increasingly are coming under, death threats, intimidation in hostile environments.
So what's the statute that opens the door to an investigation here?
Well, there are several statutes that prevent, there are several. There are conspiracy statutes. There are statutes that prevent, interfering in elections.
That's the one. Yes.
Well, look, and I don't want to get too far into the investigation.
Right.
Obviously, it's not something that I want to talk about right now.
Why not?
Well, because
everybody wants to know.
I know, but investigations take time, right? And they have to be done thoughtfully and carefully. But I think that this is a very serious matter. There was an attempt to undermine American democracy, and those are the cases that I will take most seriously going forward.
I blurted out the interference statute because that was one that came to mind way back when we learned that Kelly Ward, former Arizona Republican Party chair, had texted Clint Hickman of the Maricopa County Board to stop the count. If there's not clear evidence of interfering with an election, I don't know what is. And yet, the former Attorney General did nothing about it.
I think that I've been very critical of the inaction of the former Attorney General on a whole host of issues, and again, not just on the fake electors, but also in protecting elections officials. Brahm, one of the things I'm going to do with my EIU is prosecute anyone going forward who engages in death threats against our elections officials. Fully 1/3 of all of our counties has had a top election official resign after receiving a death threat or due to intimidation. Our democracy depends on our having elections officials who are willing and able to serve and who are not being the subject of death threats. And I'm making it clear that if you engage in that kind of behavior, we are going to prosecute you.
On the consumer front, I want to end with this. Last week you announced you're reviewing the Albertsons and Kroger supermarket chains, the merger of those chains. You have 3 different supermarkets involved, Safeway, Fry's, and Albertsons stores. What can you do there to block this, to get them to divest? What can you do at the state level?
So we also have state antitrust laws, and we are going to take a very close look at this merger. Albertsons, Kroger, they operate Fry's, Safeway, and Smith's. They run 250 stores throughout the state of Arizona. They represent 50% of all of the retail grocery sales in Arizona. 35,000 employees. Both of these companies are 2 of the top 6 employers in the state of Arizona. I'm really worried about this potentially jacking up prices on groceries in Arizona. People are already, facing difficulty buying groceries, and I'm worried about the potential for layoffs and the impact on our economy. So I am going to examine and investigate this merger through the antitrust laws that we have in the lens of antitrust. We're going to do listening sessions and hear about how it's going to impact neighborhoods and individuals.
All right, got to end it there. Attorney General Kris Mayes, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brahm.